I was at a business conference. I think it had like Alan Sugar was there. I think Donald Trump was actually there. Richard Branson.
What conference is this?
Oh,
do they still do it?
I don't think they do it anymore, but it was back in the day. It was a big conference at Excel. So I went to the conference, and then obviously at the back of the room, you used to get like loads of exhibitors who would sign you up for different courses. Yeah. So I think I was on my way to the toilet, and someone tried to pull me up to sign me up for an author's course. So I was just like, no, I'm already an author, which obviously I wasn't. I just graduated, and they're like, oh, tell me about the book. So I'm like, oh shoot, and I just made up a title. It's called How to Be a Student Entrepreneur. And they're like, oh, that's an interesting book. Tell us more about the book.
That is manifestation at its finest.
Welcome to the Greenwich Means Business podcast.
Greenwich Means Business podcast.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Greenwich Means Business podcast. Today we have a man of many trades. In fact, he is so cool that I've had to write down every single one of his titles. So we have an author, a social entrepreneur, an investor, a keynote speaker, also part of the generator at the University of Greenwich. So may I introduce to you, Junior Ogunyemi.
Thank you. Lovely introduction.
So, Junior, it is such a pleasure to have you on the podcast today.
It's a pleasure to be here.
I don't know anything about you, so let's just start with who you are, where you come from, a bit of your background. Just take me through it.
So I am Junior Ogunyemi. I am a serial entrepreneur. I've set up multiple businesses from the age of about 15, 16. Some of them have been very successful. Some of them have been absolute failures. And all of that has taught me lots of lessons that I teach to other people. So I'm more popularly known as a keynote speaker. I travel around to different colleges, universities, business events, sharing lots of different business ideas and principles and teaching people how to maximize their full potential using entrepreneurship. And off the back of that, I've built a great lifestyle for myself, which means I have the freedom to work part-time here at the university, invest in properties, do a bit of travel, just live life basically.
And you work for the generator, don't you?
Yes, yeah.
You see, just him as a person in general would make me want to go to the generator. Okay, let's read it back. So you said you started your very first business at 16?
Yeah.
Do you want to talk to me about that?
Yeah, so it's still running today. Most businesses fail within their first year. This business has been running for, well over, 18 years now. It was a football coach. It is a football coaching academy because I was always passionate about playing football growing up, and I thought, one day I'm going to get paid to play professional football. And I remember my oldest brother gave me the best career advice. He said, "Find something you like doing and get someone to pay you for it." So for me, I thought, all right, I'm gonna.
That's straightforward.
Yeah, just simple. Find something you like doing, get someone to pay you for it. I thought, I like playing football. Obviously, I didn't quite make it into the Chelsea academy team. But I thought the next best thing to playing football would be coaching football. And I got the opportunity to come down and practice as a football coach. And that inspired me to learn the tricks of the trade very quickly. And I got my coaching qualifications. And with that sort of confidence and what I saw in a part-time working, I decided to venture off and set up my own business, which was one of the best decisions ever. It was just myself and two of my mates. I sold them in, let's go set this business up. We've had about 20 kids in a local park to start off with. Now we work with more than 500 kids every single week. We employ more than 25 coaches. We do PE lessons. We do summer camps. We do birthday parties. It's literally given me a great lifestyle to then invest in other businesses, invest in properties. I've built a whole system, and I think at one point we actually became one of the fastest growing football academies in North London. And again, off the back of that business, twice I was nominated as one of the top 10 most outstanding young students in the UK.
I love the way he just casually throws it in there.
It wasn't because of any of my academic stuff, actually. It was all because of the entrepreneurial things. But I still went down the whole academic route.
Yeah.
And that's when I was going through university. I was at this young business person, and my face was in newspapers and magazines. And I was in lectures one day. Next day, I'm pitching to investors, and I'm writing exams. And the next day, I'm doing interviews with newspapers about my businesses. And so I was always known as the entrepreneurial kid at university. And while everyone else was sort of fighting to go and get graduate jobs, I kind of already sussed that I'm going to be working in my own business and just going to be doing that full time. So I had a little bit of pressure off of me, and I was making quite a good money. I actually set it my goal to make enough money to pay off all my tuition fees. And I think I probably achieved that by the time I was like second year. So I was like, yeah, definitely I'm going to be doing this full time. But by the time I graduated, I did have a lot more skills and freedom. And I realized that entrepreneurship at university there's a big gap. And this was back in the day, because there wasn't many enterprise societies. I don't think things like the Generator existed back then. We're talking probably like 2011, 2012-ish. And there was pockets of other students that I came across who was also doing very entrepreneurial stuff. And we all came out of the education system, and we realized that, there was lots of gaps. So I kind of committed the rest of my journey and my life up to now to going back into universities to inspire and educate other young people, and also help universities build more of an entrepreneurial environment. So over the past 10 years, I've been a speaker, more than actually been a speaker at various universities to talk about entrepreneurship.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question? So you mentioned how your brother gave you that piece of advice when you were younger, and now obviously you're going to universities. You work with young students who obviously want to be entrepreneurs. Do you think entrepreneurship is something that is cultivated when you're much younger? Do you feel like you grew up in a place where your parents or maybe your family, like, they kind of like allowed you to flourish that entrepreneurial spirit?
Yeah.
Do you think that's something that's necessary?
I think it can be cultivated, and I think it helps. Definitely, we are products of our environment, and if you can create an environment where people are allowed to fail, people are allowed to experiment, people are allowed to explore, then they naturally become a little bit more entrepreneurial. So my parents weren't very rigid. I think I was lucky because I was the last born. So, and all my other siblings had already graduated, had already been successful. So they already had like an engineer in the family, they had a lawyer, and they had an accountant. So
pressure was on.
Well, it was actually pressure was off, because for them it was like, well, we've got 3 kids, 3 out of 4 are successful, so let him do whatever he wants to do. So I
wish I had that problem.
So I think I had the benefit of being the last born, and with that, I kind of had the option to go and pick. There was no sort of like, you have to be an example to your younger siblings. I was the youngest, and my older siblings made good examples. My oldest brother, he was very entrepreneurial. So he used to bring back books from seminars, and he used to travel around the world to go see different speakers. And everybody in the family thought he was crazy because he quit his job very early to go set up his own business. And he managed to make it quite a success. So I didn't even understand what the word entrepreneur was, but because he used to bring home these books and stuff like that, some seeds were sown.
Yeah.
So I think that was a big advantage of actually having an entrepreneur in the family, and seeing the struggles and the ups and downs and the excitement. So when I got older, I kind of almost accidentally fell into entrepreneurship. I was literally just following my passion, and I realized the only people who's going to pay me to play football now are other parents to coach their kids. So I went through that same mentality of find something I like doing and get someone to pay me for it. I solved that problem through football, through sports. Yeah. Can
I ask you a follow-up question? Because I feel like people back home, especially students back home, there is now, especially with social media, there's a lot of pressure that you have to, like, especially if you want to be financially free, you have to start your own business, you have to go off. It's so easy and everybody talks about it. And your story is specifically inspiring, but obviously the way you say it, it's like you woke up one day, you chose to do this, and it just happened, it worked out for you. So do you feel like back then it was easier to wake up and start a business? And also, like, can you give us maybe an insight into all the struggles you faced? Because I'm sure it wasn't just rainbows and sunshine.
Yeah, absolutely not. Was it easier back then? No. Was it less competitive back then? Yes.
Okay.
But it wasn't easier. We didn't have social media. You couldn't just pay an influencer and then get your product out there. Being an entrepreneur at a young age was still frowned upon. There wasn't pockets of funding that your university can give you, like the Enterprise Challenge and things like that. There wasn't enterprise societies. In fact, it's almost like you've wasted your degree if you're studying and you're trying to set up a business on the side. It was like, dude, that's something you do once you've reached the pinnacle in your career, and then you take your money. And so it was very countercultural. And the fact that it's such a buzz term now, and everybody's like, yeah, I want to be an entrepreneur. You've got shows like Dragon's Den and all this other stuff, and Apprentice, and people are seeing that as like the go-to thing. I mean, people like me are probably partly responsible for that sort of wave, but that's what we wanted. We wanted a culture where it was normalized to be an entrepreneur, especially at a young age. I wrote the book, How to Be a Student Entrepreneur, specifically for that purpose, to change and challenge people's viewpoints about young entrepreneurship. Young entrepreneurs and entrepreneurship create more resources and provisions. Fast forward 10, 15 years now, we now live in that world. So the next generation have the benefits of it being a lot easier, but that would also make it a lot more competitive, because now we've gone to the other side of the spectrum where the entrepreneurship is the only way of being successful, and you have to be like the next Elon Musk, otherwise you're nothing.
And it's so glamorized as well.
It's glamorized, and do you know what? It's great that that's an aspiration, but it has to also be sold with the work rate that's required. It's not just, I just get online and I put my face there. And there's principles, there's business principles, there's marketing principles, there's still demand and supply, there's team building, there's leadership skills. So there's so much that you can take from business, even if you're not, the CEO. Just by working within a startup, it's probably some of the best things that you can actually do to put on your CV, to say that, you can take a small company, you can help it grow, you can work as a team, you can be flexible, you can be agile. And I think the entrepreneurial skills in today's day and age is what's going to actually allow people to elevate, because you've got tools like AI now. A lot of the traditional jobs that people are going for, 10 years ago, I was warning everybody that these jobs are going to be obsolete. Learn entrepreneurial skills. Now, a lot of these jobs are becoming obsolete.
Yeah, I agree with you.
So yeah, it's even if you're not an entrepreneur, the focus should be on developing entrepreneurial skills. Not just glamorizing entrepreneurs. So entrepreneurial skills like how to sell yourself. Pitch. There's so many students now that I meet that are just scared to sell themselves, as in stand on stage, tell us who you are, and that's the most nerve-wracking thing about them. Like, you've got all this background, you've got all this track record, you've done all this hard work, but you cannot say that in a 60-second pitch. You can't present yourself. So
it's difficult. What do you want me to say, Junior? Like, I'm a student. Like, it's just, you just get up there and you like, number one, it's imposter syndrome, because you can't believe someone's actually giving you a space. And then secondly, it's, you constantly feel like there's other pressure from outside, because everyone's always doing something more than you are. Yeah.
But all of that, every single thing that we find stressful, this is all our perception. So I will also face the same imposter syndrome, but I perceive everything differently. And then that's what I try to teach people, that there's not a problem with you. It's just your perception. You can change your perception. Of course, if I put you on the spot and I put spotlights in front of you and I tell all your peers to stare at you and tell you to present yourself, there's a way of framing that so that you become distressed. But there's also a way of framing that so that you become excited, and it turns into the good type of stress, that eustress. So I think, in fact, I know that a lot of it is how we frame things in our minds. And that's where people are sort of limiting themselves. It is very much, in this generation anyway, I do see that people have framed things in the wrong way, and that's what's created a lot of pressure. And I don't blame people. You've got tools like social media. Like, if you make one mistake now, it could go viral. There wasn't that type of, you can make mistakes in secret and, you wasn't cancelled.
They'll never know.
Exactly. They'll never know. You don't know where the bodies are buried. So it's fine. Whereas now there is a lot of pressure from people. So I totally understand. But I think that's why we just have to try to work more on actually protecting people's mindsets and teaching people and giving them the tools to how to frame things so that you are succeeding and not struggling.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you obviously give a lot of talks and a lot of workshops with the generator.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, what is like that one lesson that you teach every single time that you possibly can? I know you spoke about perception, but if you could like pick one thing to get everyone at home to that's listening to come across, one thing that they come across in their lives, for example.
I always love talking about validating your ideas. I think that should be the first thing that everybody does. Everyone has a great idea, and I always say as a coach, it's not my place to tell you that your idea is not going to succeed. And it's not my place to tell you that your ideas are going to succeed. It's your audience that's going to do that. So you need to validate it with them. I will guide you. And I might have my own personal opinions, but, I could be wrong. But one thing that, you can definitely use to argue with me is data. If you can bring back the data to show that your audience love this, then I will absolutely shut up. And I'll say, well done, you've won. So that's why I always encourage people, validate. Same thing if you're talking to front of an investor might have their opinions, but the moment you say, well, the reason we're doing this is because our market has shown this, or the evidence has shown this, or this is what the audience want, no investor can argue with you suddenly.
Yeah. So
it's always about validating, and that's every single workshop. I make sure that that's at the bedrock of, because there's no point building marketing or sales funnels and all this other stuff when you haven't tested the actual concept, you haven't validated the actual concept. And it doesn't have to be a scary thing. It's something that can be done very, very easy. In fact, there's one particular workshop that I do where I send the students out to go out there and validate, and they have 2 hours to come back with data. So they go to Greenwich Market, they talk to people, they get on the phone, they go online, they try to validate within the time frame, and they have to come back, bring back the data. Every single time, there's at least half the students come back with their jaw to the ground thinking, oh my goodness, that was the best piece of time that I've ever spent on my business, because I thought I was going in this direction and everyone just pushed me in that direction. So it's the most groundbreaking thing you can do.
It's basically market research, right?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. Doing the market research, doing your homework to actually go out to the market. The problem with entrepreneurs, we build everything in our own head. So, oh, that's a great name, that's a great idea. Or nowadays we build everything with ChatGPT. So it's just us creating our own thing. Now, unless you're going to buy millions of pieces of your own product, that's fine. But the market's going to go out and buy that. So you have to co-create it with the market. And that's the core thing that I always get everyone to understand if they want to succeed as an entrepreneur.
That's very true. Now, I haven't read your book. I know you mentioned you wrote a book. I haven't read it. I'd like to. So if you have a copy, feel free to send it through.
I will do.
But I want to know what you wrote in that book. What was it about? What inspired you to write it? At what age did you write it?
Okay. So let's start with how I wrote the book, I guess. So I was at a conference. I just graduated at the time, and I had a successful business. And I also had a very successful economics degree that I knew I wasn't really going to use.
You did an economics degree?
I did economics, yeah. And then I was at a business conference. I think it had Alan Sugar was there. I think Donald Trump was actually there, Richard Branson. Yeah.
What conference is this?
Oh,
do they still do it?
I don't think they do it anymore, but it was back in the day. It was a big conference at Excel. So I went to the conference, and then obviously at the back of the room, you used to get loads of exhibitors who would sign you up for different courses. Yeah. So I think I was on my way to the toilet, and someone tried to pull me up to sign me up for an author's course. So I was just like, no, I'm already an author, which obviously I wasn't. I just graduated, and they're like, oh, tell me about the book. So I'm like, oh shoot, and I just made up a title. It's called How to Be a Student Entrepreneur. And they're like, oh, that's an interesting book. Tell us more about the book.
That is manifestation at its finest. Jesus.
So I started just waffling about stuff that I thought should be in a book like that, because I did business, and it's about this, and then I had to do that. And then I gave them my business card, and I thought nothing of it. About 3 days later, somebody calls me up. They're like, hi, is this Junior? I'm like, yeah. I'm the CEO of a publishing company, and I came across your business card, and I heard about your book. It sounds quite interesting. We want to publish it. That was my reaction. I was just like...
For everyone listening, I'm in shock right now. If you can't see this video, I'm in shock. Okay.
So I picked up the phone. Literally, I think that phone call woke me up, so I had to clear my throat, and I was just like, okay, this is interesting. Yeah, I am the author of the book. And they're like, oh, how many pages is it? And I've never written a book before, so I just made up a number. And then they're like, okay, that's good. I'm like, oh. And then they're like, how many chapters is that? I'm like, it's about 9 chapters. They're like, oh, normally we expect 12. I'm like, yeah, 9, 10, 11, 12. I'm like, just put the finishing touches, So they're like, all right, if you can put the finishing touches, and I'll give you I don't know what, to the end of the month to finish it, and then just send it. I had not written one word, right? And the end of the month was probably 3 weeks away. So I spent 3 days turning my old bedroom into an office, and then I spent the rest of the time writing my heart out. And I managed to write the whole book in 3 weeks with no AI.
People, I'm in shock. Okay.
So I completed the whole book in free because my integrity was on the line, and my big, everybody wants to write a book at some point, but I was about
But the
21.
thing is, I gotta give to you how delusional you were, because
Absolutely
I would have
delusional.
caved. I would have been like, sorry, there is no book. I apologize, But you just pulled through.
But that's the attitude I was in
Yeah.
as an entrepreneur. That's what I'd been doing.
Guys, this is your lesson.
I was figuring it out on the fly. That's just what I did as an entrepreneur. Every single business up to that point is like, right, I'll learn on the go. So, and the fact that delusional was the word, because I didn't know how long it took to write a book. I didn't speak to any other authors.
Oh
So
my God.
I thought I can get a book done in 3 weeks. And because I believed I can get a book done in 3 weeks, there's a lot of time I could do that.
Yeah.
I did
Whereas
it.
now we have a lot of limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
For example, me, like a year to write a book like that, right?
Well, the average book, I found out afterwards
Yeah.
that the average book takes about 9 months to 2 years to write. Nobody told me that. If someone had told me that, I would have gone to the average. So the fact that I was almost ignorant of it
Yeah.
was a good thing, because
Blessing.
I just pushed myself to the limit.
Yeah.
And this is where sometimes we overthink things, because we get on all the data and we get on all the facts, and then we compare ourselves to the average. You're not comparing yourself to your potential.
Do you know what? I want to butt in real quick, because I heard this quote and I wrote it on my phone. Messy consistency is always going to get you farther than trying to plan for perfected effort.
Yeah,
And that is exactly basically what you did.
exactly.
That's amazing.
Exactly. Yeah, and so I put the book together, and what normally happens is you get it edited before you send it for final submission. So I didn't know how a book should sound. So I went and got it independently proofread and edited by an expert. And I said, right, how much is it going to cost to like sort of tidy this up? And they're like, do you know what? It fell in place first draft. You hit the nail on the head. It was a very good book. I did 1 or 2 minor edits, but that was it. And again, I was just like, like.
Was this like a big publishing house?
Yeah, well, they were big in the business world,
Yeah.
so they were doing a lot of business books. So with that seal of approval, I sent it in to them, and about 3 or 4 months later, they launched it at London Business Startup Show in front of 3,000 people, and then that took my career as a speaker through the roof. About 2 or 3 times a day, I was traveling
I'm
up and
feeling your
down.
excitement right now. I can't believe it.
Instantly, I just turned into like an overnight celebrity signing books and up and down the whole country.
Oh my God, Junior,
and that's
that
what got me
is-
on a roadshow doing talks as well. And off the back of the moment you become an author, you become an authority figure. So I started doing lots of talks, and people started telling me to come down to deliver seminars. Again, I wasn't considering myself as a speaker, but I said yes. And then I figured it out afterwards.
And you were how old?
I was about 21. By the time the book was, I turned 22 a month after the book was launched. So,
Do you know how mediocre that makes me sound? No, that's insane.
Yeah.
I don't know how you look at yourself in the mirror every day. Like, that's amazing.
Do you know what? It's when you set goals,
Yeah.
and this is something I also learned, like you envision it already, so you kind of feel the excitement. So by the time it happens, it's almost like, oh, this is the second time it's happened. So it's not like, and everyone does say I'm a bit like nonchalant, I'm just cool and relaxed.
Yeah, that's the
but
vibe I'm getting. Like, why are you not, like, I would be like screaming and jumping off buildings,
Yeah, do you know what? When you're surprised when good things happen to you, it shows you didn't plan for it. Yeah, so if you're surprised when good things happen to it, it kind of shows that you didn't plan for it. Everything
It's
that
a
kind of
manifestation
planned.
thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, some people say manifestation, some people basically it's more like,
I feel like sometimes when I achieve things, sometimes I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm happy for like a couple of minutes, and then it's like, well, I worked for it, so.
well, I'm happy, but I think the buzz of the excitement is gone because I already saw it that this is gonna happen. I had so much faith that I'm still happy it happened. But for example, if someone told you that you've got the winning lottery numbers, you're gonna be happy when it actually happens, but you kind of already believed them. So it was just like, I'm just waiting for the rest of the world to
outcome.
catch up.
Yeah.
It's like, I've got this in the bag. And that level of confidence is what I sort of carry with me in a lot of things. Even when I'm talking on stage, I don't ever tell myself a negative story, or what if they throw tomatoes at me. It's like, they're going to love this talk. I'm going to change their life. I have to come from that mentality, because whether you think positively or negatively, you're going to be right. So I'd rather think positively, and I'll live according to that. And for that reason, it looks like I'm not surprised when good things happen to me, but I genuinely believed and had confidence that it was going to work out anyway.
Oh my God, I'm learning so much from this. Junior, your story is insane. Like, I don't even know where to carry on, to be honest with you, but I need to know. So you've accomplished all of these amazing things. How did you end up working for the generator? And not that it's a step down, because what you're doing is amazing there. But I just need to know, like, what brought you in with the students and the universities?
Well, it's for me, it's definitely a step up because I was already doing work with the generator before I officially joined the generator. So I mentioned that I was off the back of the book, I became a speaker and I fell in love with speaking. I just wanted to be on stage, especially talking to the younger generation and inspiring them. Not that the older generations it's too late, but for the younger generation, there's still so much body and potential to steer them. And I see a lot of myself in them as well. So I love working with universities. So I was already delivering programs at various other universities, and I became well known in the university space as a speaker. And I wrote a lot of the entrepreneurial programs that the generator had already delivered.
Yeah.
So I was very familiar with the team. I'd worked with some of the team members at previous universities before they came here. So at the stage, I think I'd just finished a couple of major business projects and I had quite a lot of time on my hands. And I was just thinking to myself, I want to do something very different. Not completely different because I still have responsibilities, but I've got a lot of time. Literally, I was at home too much. I was at home. I've got a very big house.
Yeah.
For just for me and my wife anyway. But I was.
What a flex, I've got a big house.
Yeah, but it was almost just like empty. That's the point.
Yeah.
It felt like I'm at home. I bought the house and got a garden I don't use. Got 2 or 3 rooms I don't use.
Buy a dog. I'm just kidding.
I did in the end.
Okay.
But I was realizing that I was just wasting a lot of time. The businesses didn't need me.
And you have a lot to give.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The businesses didn't need me. I had agents who was booking me to come and do talks, but I wanted to do more. And I also used to get very frustrated sometimes with myself because people would tweet me, like, oh yeah, I set up this business because you came to my school 4 years ago and And I was like, I never get to see your journey. I just sow the seeds and then one day we might sort of reconnect.
Yeah.
So I always longed for an opportunity to mentor people and actually take them through. And then when the opportunity came to work with Greenwich, I thought, why not? It's the same thing I'm already doing with the university, but I can. And then I negotiated, can I do this part-time and still do my business? They said yes. I said, let's go. And it's been probably one of the best decisions for me because it's the most rewarding things and it's everything that I wanted to do all wraps up in one. And the students at Greenwich are hungry to learn, especially entrepreneurship. So I absolutely love, being here. It's not damaged any of my business because literally the days that I'm at Greenwich, I would have been at home staring at the walls thinking, what business venture do I do next? What do I do next with my time? So I'm happy that I'm able to keep myself preoccupied with when I'm not working on my businesses, I'm supporting other businesses, and that's the dream for me.
That's amazing. I feel like I've rinsed your brain. So to wrap up this interview, I want to ask you, if there's a student out there at home who's listening to this and they have an idea, what would you think their first step should be? If they have an idea, they're a University of Greenwich student, what do you think they should do?
First step, contact us. Contact Generator. One thing that people don't know is that they get free business mentoring by myself or Leah, the other enterprise advisors. And so you can just literally email us and you can get a free one-to-one chat. And that's also another reason because to do this outside, to contact outside, you're talking about £200-300 just to have a conversation. And I knew a lot of students couldn't afford that. But with Greenwich, me coming on board with Greenwich, they can create a provision where students can just come in, say, this is a business idea, and they can sit down with me. I'll tear their ideas to shreds and I'll help them rebuild it properly. And that's something that I wasn't able to do because there was that sort of price barrier, but it's completely free to all Greenwich students and even Greenwich alumni. So I tell everybody, seize these opportunities. Worst case scenario, we're going to redirect you to the right path, but you're going to not be alone. It can be a lonely journey, but you don't have to be alone. The generator is literally here to help you build your business, and we've got the greatest team and the greatest provision. And I think everybody just needs to take that first step to say, can I book a call in to find out, is my business viable? Even if you don't have a business idea, you just have a passion. We've got programs that will help you explore different ideas, programs that will help you to build your, skills of consultations and everything else like that. So
It's amazing.
yeah.
Thank you so much, Junior.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me.
You have been insane. Like, I've learned so much from today. Thank you guys for listening. This was the Greenwich Means Business podcast. I was Nataly Vivanco, your host. This was Junior. And please check out The Generator. They have amazing workshops all the time. Also the Enterprise Challenge. Really cool stuff. Thank you so much. And I'll see you guys in the next episode.
Bye.
You can find our podcast on Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts. Subscribe to never miss an episode.
Well, the first thing to do is just contact us. Contact The Generator.